he's like, look, you have everything we look for. And he's like, what is that? He's like, you're smart, you're poor, and you want to be rich.
Everything out there is network marketing, but people just are trained not to see it that way. Is your family uni-level? No. Is a company uni-level? No. Is a football team uni-level? Just people don't understand that.
Welcome back to another episode of the Residual Real Estate Agent Podcast. We have with us an absolute rock star in the network marketing space, Guillermo Haro, and he is part of World Financial Group. He has built a monster successful organization, and we're super excited to have with you, us here today. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me. By the way, the correct enunciation is Guillermo Haro, just for
there you go.
Spanish clarification there.
Appreciate it, Papa. So the first question that, I think makes a lot of sense is that, we were talking off camera that it's really interesting, this world of network marketing and all the kind of misconceptions that are out there. So talk to us a little bit about how you came to that world. I know you've created massive success for yourself in that space. How did you come to the network marketing kind of, space as a business?
Well, before we even get started with my story, I just want to make a few clarifications. I think that everything out there is network marketing, but people just are trained not to see it that way. If you take the structure of the government, if you take the structure of the military, if you take a structure of a restaurant, Sam's Club, Shell Oils company, every company is levels, so we said network marketing. What they're saying is that there's a certain kind of tier level. There's like level this and level that. They call them different titles and all that. So everything has levels to it. Everything is multi-level. If it weren't multi-level, it would be uni-level. So that means there's not 7 levels. There's only 1 level. That means everybody's on the same level. Well, show me something that's organized that's uni-level. Is your family uni-level? No. Is a company uni-level? No. Is a football team uni-level? Is, a talk show, is it uni-level? Does everybody have the same title, the same position, the same pay? The answer is no. So everything out there that's organized, even sometimes when it's not organized, is multi-level, multi-tier, but just people don't understand that. So hopefully that can clarify some confusion. So my beginning in WFG, in this company specifically, was I had my little real estate and mortgage operation. I was a one-man band, self-employed as can be. And I had a gentleman reach out to me and he says, hey, man, do you want to make some money? Do you want to add additional services to what you already do with your clients? And I was on the phone. He was at his job. He used to work at a collection agency. He was a gentleman that had cleared up a couple of collection accounts for some of my clients. You know how they give you the universal data form. I don't know if that's the way to do it this day, but many years ago. So this gentleman helped me with those clearing up those collection accounts. So therefore my loan could go through with the lender. And that's how I met this guy. This same gentleman was the guy who invited me to this meeting. I went to this meeting for the very first time. It was like a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock or so. I got there and there was like a little business mixer. And I was introduced to a guy named Ed Milet. And all of you guys that are in the self-improvement space, you know Ed Milet. I shook hands with Ed Milet in 1999. And basically the rest is history. I went to that meeting. I met with him the following day. He interviewed me. We got started in business. He showed me how to get a license. Really start to work on my mindset. I think every successful person, the number one thing that they have as an advantage versus other people that are not successful is their mindset. The difference between the way successful people think and the way people who are not successful think, they're day and night. And so that was my beginning to becoming successful in WFG, being trained, being coached, being mentored, being led by what I believe is just one of the greatest guys ever in the self-improvement space, financial services, business. He's also a big real estate guy as well. So that was the beginning of my business adventure in WFG. And it's been amazing. It's not all easy and it's not all peaches and cream. It's not, get in and automatically you get rich. There is a lot of work. But you're going to work hard somewhere else anyway. So that's just my mindset. If you're going to bust your ass somewhere else, you might as well do it where the payoff is the biggest, and you can grow into being a person that you obviously can be very proud of. So that's the beginning of that.
Mindset wise, in order to build a large, successful, multi-level marketing business, what do you think mindset wise, what adjustments did you have to make in order to obviously produce the results that you are now producing?
Well, first of all, is you got to be team oriented. It's all about a team. It's no longer me, me, me. There's so many industries out there. I mean, building a team is a team sport. It's not an individual. It's not like tennis. Tennis, you're doing it all by yourself, or per se golf, you're doing it all by yourself. It's more like a football team. It's a basketball team. It's a collective effort led by a leader, led by someone who gives the people an example, led by someone who has integrity, character, work ethic, someone who's going to provide an example worth following. So the first part of building a big team is you got to be all about it, and people got to know that you really believe in what you do and that you're doing it consistently, and that you start building a track record of people feeling confident in your ability to be there for them. So that's has a lot to do with it. People are looking for a solid role model, a solid leader, like kids. Kids have heroes. Well, they're not looking for the people who quit. They're looking for the people who are stars, the people who do it big, the people who inspire them. And so you got to be that person. You want to be a team leader. If you want to capture all of the benefits of leading a large organization, you've got to be that person that has all those characteristics and those traits.
Let me ask you this: at the beginning, when you weren't that leader yet, meaning like you weren't that person that Guillermo Haro from today, what challenges did you face at that time?
Oh, God. I mean, we can take the rest of the afternoon to explain those challenges. Well, the reality is everybody's going to go through all the crap. And, we have a saying that says, everybody wants the glory. We all want the big success, the big money, the big cars, the travel, the hot wife, the big house. We all want all the awesome things about life. So that's called the glory. But before you get to that glory, you must go through the story. Well, what's the story? What's all the crap you're going to go through? It's all the thinking you got it going and you fall right back on your face, where the deal didn't close. The client wanted to think it over. People quit. There's challenges. There's personality issues. There's inconsistencies. The market changes. So there's a lot of things that happen on your way to the top. The name of the game is who can be persistent. Who can stay the course long enough in order to capture that glory we keep talking about? So everybody wants the glory, but they're not willing to go through the story. And the story involves hard work over years and years and years. And it requires improvement, and it requires modifying and changing and making adjustments to your personality, to your work ethic, to your habits. I mean, there's a lot of work in becoming a superstar performer in life. And all those people who get there, you can't hate on them. You just appreciate the kind of dedication and, quite frankly, the example they set for everybody else.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm writing this down as we're talking, that it sounds like your tendency prior to getting proximity to Ed was to think like, all right, I got to do this all on my own. And you were a one-man show, and like there wasn't a lot of leverage that was involved in your experience. And then when you got proximity to him, he was your role model. And he poured into you and, gave you some mental maps and some ways of thinking. So talk a little bit about that team factor and how I think a lot of people out there in any business, whether it's in, network marketing or just in business in general, they say that they're in business, but they really have a job and they don't have any leverage.
Yeah, that's true. There's several references that we constantly look at. You see the book by Robert Kiyosaki. He says, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you really read the book and, you reread it, and then I listen to it over and over again, and you start to just understand like the mentality of the people you grow up with. Because most of us, I'm Mexican. I was born really poor. My dad was the poor guy. He didn't have a prosperous mindset. He wasn't the kind of person that was teaching me how to get ahead. So I couldn't go to my dad to learn skills for getting ahead in life. He wasn't necessarily ambitious. He wasn't an entrepreneur. My dad was just a very average, very hardworking, but invested all of his time at a job and basically landed him just a paycheck to paycheck life. I don't fault him, because at least he gave me the opportunity to be where I'm at today. He did bring me to this country. We did get a social security number. I did get an education. I learned how to speak English. He just gave me an opportunity. So that's all that I can ask for. So I'm grateful forever. Now, this says in life, you always need these sets of people. Like, you need 5 people. Well, who are they? Well, you need a mentor. Everybody needs a mentor. All successful people typically can point at someone and says, that guy mentored me. You also need a coach. A mentor and a coach are 2 different people. Oftentimes they could be the same person, but more often a coach and a mentor are 2 different things. You also need a critic. You need someone to doubt you. You need someone to poke at you. You need someone to kind of talk a little shit to you, to say, hey, what are you thinking? You can't do that. That's not for you. It's like, who do you think you are? You need a critic. I had, family members, pretty close family members that looked at me trying to become an entrepreneur and learning sales skills and living on commission. It's just, what are you thinking? It's like, you need a college degree to make it in life. I had someone pretty close to me look at me. It's like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but you need a college degree to make it in life. And I looked at it, was like, we'll see about that. And boy, that's what I needed. So you need someone to poke at you and doubt you and think that you don't have what it takes to make it. So you need that critic. You also need a cheerleader. You need one that says, yeah, man, hey, the pom-poms, if you're a football player, the cheerleaders, they cheer for you. You need that. Down the road too, you also are looking for people that can be a running mate. You need someone to run with. They said when 2 horses run together, they both make each other better. So you do need a running mate. You need someone to compete with. You need someone to be there. So therefore you can kind of size each other up. You do need that. If you're an alpha male, like sounds like we are right here, we need that. You need the competitor. You need someone with you. By the way, it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be combative, but just someone that's there to compete with you. So you got to talk about coach, mentor, critic, cheerleader, and someone that runs with you. So I believe you need those things. And when you come across the people and you identify who they are and you're willing to put forth the effort, then yes, I think you can get to the highest levels that you're willing to work for. So that's what I would say to that whole process.
And just for our viewers to understand, Guillermo Haro has over 5,400 people in his organization in the multi-level marketing space. I don't think that we mentioned that at the beginning, but that's something that most people don't ever get to that level. So I wanted to ask you, you mentioned something about hard work at the beginning. You said, well, look, you got to be willing to put in hard work. What did those early days look like for you? Like in terms of World Financial Group, like were you sleeping at all, bro?
I was just enough to get my mind sane and then get up in the morning and go do it all again. For about 10 years, I think there was a pocket there for like 6-7 years where I was a beast, man, nonstop. No vacations, not a lot of distractions, not a lot of entertainment. Certainly no vacations, no weekend in the Havasu with the boys, no Coachella, no Stagecoach, no Rosarito down for fish taco, none of that. Just no carne asada weekends in the backyard. I was just after it, man. I was in a hurry. Here's what I can tell you, Jose Luis and Aaron. I was in a hurry to get rich, like in a hurry. And by the way, our society sort of has this stigma about get rich quick. And I don't know if that's wrong or that's right, but I'd rather it be right for me than wrong. What's wrong if you get rich in 3, 4, 5 years, in 7 years, in 8 years? Matter of fact, today's culture, at an alarming pace, people are becoming wealthier today in a shorter period of time than ever before. You see people that go from 0 to multi-deca millionaires in 3 years, in 5 years, in 8 years. What's wrong with that? As long as you're willing to put in a price, as long as you're willing to work hard at it. So for me, in our business, we had appointments. Obviously, for most sales operations out there, you need your prospects, you need your clients, and you need to be a person that can sort of do different duties. Well, you need to have the skill of setting up appointments. 2, you got to show up to the appointment. 3, you got to present your product. 4, you got to close. Or before you close, you overcome objections. then you close the business, then you follow up, then you make sure your pipeline is full, and you do that. So you got to be business organized at the same time while creating your client pipeline. And then you got to be on top of your products. You got to know how to close. You got to know how to make a suitable recommendation for clients and make sure the client qualifies for this product that they'll be approved at. Because in our space, there's underwriting, like loans, there's underwriting. So we have underwriting as well. So I had, I want to say probably at my peak, I had maybe 25 to 40 appointments a week. So that's, 4, 5, 6 appointments a day times 7 days a week. So I had 25 to 40 appointments every single week. This happened for year after year after year after year, and wake up in the morning, eat some breakfast, go to the office, and I wouldn't come back until, 10, 11 o'clock. So I had 12 to 15-hour days for years and years and years. Keep in mind, in that process, also became a single dad. So I'm a single dad, and I get my daughter every other weekend. And I actually would take my daughter. My daughter would roll with me with my schedule, go to the office. I'd actually take the baby carriage into client's house, do the appointment. She needed her diaper change. I'd tell the client, hang on a second, run on this side, do the diaper change, give her a bottle, just make sure she was okay, and get back to the appointment. And the client's watching me. It's like, okay, I guess, this is a good guy, and we probably want to buy from him. So I don't know if they felt sorry for me, but I just did it. And by the way, I got some criticism over that too. It's like, what do you mean you're taking your daughter to these appointments? She should be home at night. It's like, well, I'm a single dad. What am I going to do? Stay at home the whole afternoon? Well, I need to run a business. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have I don't work for the gas company where I work from 9 to 5. And here I am, 7 p.m. watching TV at home. That's not me. So, that's the story part of it. To get to the glory, that was part of the story. And I'm just so glad I didn't give in to that based on like criticisms and stuff you get from people around you in that regard. But yeah, my schedule was on point. I was highly disciplined, showing up to work with a great attitude and just doing it and proving to other people that they could have excuses and I wasn't necessarily giving any. So I have a little saying that says, I don't give excuses, so certainly I'm not going to take them. And so ran a business that way and mounted a team that saw the example. And with that, they also did it, and they also did it. And before you know it, it starts spreading. And, dozens of people recruited, hundreds of people recruited, thousands of people. That's kind of the way it goes. But you've got to be the leader of the pack. They said the speed of the leader determines the rate of the pack. So the leader better be on his game and be consistent. And on top of that, you have very little margin for error because your team will quickly let you know how imperfect you are. Just want to let you know that too.
Yeah, I love that. I'm just writing this down. I don't know if you guys listen to that, but that was a nugget that the speed of the leader, determines, how the pack's going to operate. And I'm writing things down. That's right. And I'm writing things down furiously. So, and I have a question underneath it. So I was taught as a young man that excuses are built upon mountains of nothingness, and those who use them seldom succeed. So it's the same type of philosophy,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
And then I also am aware as you're speaking, I'm thinking about Tom Brady, where he says, look, you can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything because you're limited by time. So you have to be very conscious and purposeful about what you choose to spend time on. And you spent time, you were very clear, unapologetic. Look, I want to, build financial kind of freedom and independence for myself and my family. And you were willing to make the sacrifices that were required in order to make that happen.
Right.
So I guess I'm curious from your perspective in working with people, within the organization. I'm aware that you're a leader. People come to you. How much of people's inability to produce the outcome is because they're actually really unclear as to what it's actually going to take in order to produce it?
I think I don't know if that's one or two slices of the pie, but certainly I think a lot of people have no purpose. They just get started without necessarily knowing why. Because I think for a lot of people, they just they're a little mentally lazy. People would rather just watch things than really sit down and put pen to paper and identify the things that they want. It's just so much easier to turn on the TV and just be there as a vegetable watching TV rather than turn off the TV, get in your office, get in your room, open up your laptop and just really think long and hard about your future, about creating goals, about prioritizing what you want in your life. So when people are getting started in business, I think you're right. They have the mentality. Let me see how it goes. I'm gonna give it 2 or 3 months to see how it goes. Well, guess how it goes. Success is not for the people who are not committed, and success is not for people who don't commit to the longevity of it. Everybody who's successful has those mentioned in the different books, those 10,000 hours. I think you got to log in all of those hours, because at that point you put in all those hours, you have this internal feeling like, man, I deserve it. Damn it, I deserve it. I put in the price. I paid the price. I did the hours. I developed myself. So most people can't really become successful because, honestly, if you ask them, do you feel you really deserve to win big based on your effort? And the answer is no. Like, hey, don't kid yourself. You could BS you, but you can't BS the mirror. You can't BS the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. People lie, but numbers don't. The numbers are the numbers. So I just believe it's important to be clear on what you want. What was it I want? Like, people ask me that all the time. What was it you wanted? I said, well, number one, I was sick and tired of being broke. Sick and tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Sick and tired of always wanting things and I couldn't afford them. I wanted a certain car, well, I couldn't afford the payment. I wanted to dress a certain way, we couldn't afford the clothes. I wanted to eat at a certain restaurant where you couldn't afford, $100 steak. So here you go to Denny's. So there's a point where in your life where you said, like, why do other people make it look so easy? And I'm kind of struggling with this. Well, they're pretty clear. And I'm talking about all the people who work for everything they have, not people who were handed what they have, because there's some of those as well. And obviously, I can't compete with you if you were handed, you're a trust fund baby, and I came up with nothing. My mom and dad didn't give me any money. I remember my dad one time wanted to hand me $50, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't take $50 from him because I knew that he had worked so hard for that $50. And I'm like, no, Dad, I can't take it. I'm going to find a way to go make my own, but I just can't take your $50. And that, by the way, that was like saying $500 today. I'm thinking that's probably the equivalent of to the adjustment of inflation. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And then I wrote down here, like, nature doesn't reward need, it rewards deserve, to your point. Right. So, like, am I deserving? And you put all that time and energy and effort in. So I guess I'm curious, number one, if we're doing a blueprint on how to build a network marketing business and be very successful, number one, be very clear on the why. Specifically, why are you even setting out to try to accomplish this, and make that as granular and detailed as possible. And really, it sounds like you got to a place which, when, I say this word, it's a very charged word and it has a negative connotation, but I think it's an exceptionally powerful one, which is hate. Is that you hated not being able to pay for things. You hated having to play small. You hated having to be in a restaurant and do less than. And I think that that's a powerful, it's kind of like rocket fuel. Once you're very clear on that, and then you can match that with a why. And then you mentioned logging in 10,000 hours. So what would you say are the things, whatever product or service it is within the network marketing space, whether it's financial services, whether it's real estate like me and Jose are doing with EXP, or whatever it is, what would you say are the areas that people need to log 10,000 hours in?
Several areas. I think for anyone who's going to be a stellar performer at whatever they do, a lot of those hours have got to be on improving themselves. You cannot outperform your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your daily habits. You cannot out-earn those things. So your earnings will be in direct proportion to how you have developed and matured. So that's super important. So investing time in going to listen to people who are better, hanging around people who offer value, reading books, listening to the tapes, podcasts. I mean, you got to immerse yourself. You got to soak up all of this information that simply makes you better, and provide it like it really turns you on. Don't do it because you have to. Do it because you really feel like you're feeding yourself. So I think a lot of those 10,000 hours on a daily basis, you got to develop time to self-develop, you got to invest time to self-develop. And I think that's super important. You also have to invest in making yourself the best version. What do I mean by that? Well, I think all of us agree that typically people do good when they feel good. Very few people do good when they're feeling crappy, when they're feeling down, when they're feeling like things aren't going in their favor. And so for that, because we're physical creatures. So I feel good when I've had a good workout. I feel good when I go to the steam room. I feel good when I get a massage. I feel good when I'm really good with my wife. I feel good when my kids hug and kiss me, and I feel good after we've had a good meal. So I put myself in a position where I'm doing all of these things to make me feel good. If Guillermo Haro is good, everybody around me is going to get the best version of me. But what if I'm grumpy, I have a headache, I feel like crap, I'm complaining, I'm whining, I make everybody else around me horrible too. So it's super important to put yourself in that space where you're on top of your game as much time as possibly humanly possible. I think that's a super important thing. A lot of people maybe don't believe in that, or they think it's not a priority. But for me, and for many people, it's what do you need to do to put yourself at your best? Are you in your peak state? How many hours of the day? So I do that. The next thing is you got to really be passionate about what is it you do. I don't care what you sell, from makeup to solar panels to cars to roofing supplies. If you sell financial services, if you sell mortgage, whatever you got to be passionate. I'm talking about you got to be fired up about it. You got to be all about it. You have to consume the very product you're trying to sell. I think that's a whole nother topic, but you've seen it. You go to a steakhouse and you ask the person there, hey, so what do you recommend? So, well, I can't recommend. I'm a vegetarian. So what the hell are you doing working here? It just doesn't go good. You know, you go to a car dealership to buy a Mercedes and it says, well, and they're raving about the car and says, well, what do you drive? And they kind of choke a little bit there and they're driving Nissan. So I think people need to sell from their own wagon, not from an empty wagon. It's super important to consume the very product that you're selling. So therefore you can explain it to them. You know, I'm in the life insurance and retirement space, and I can clearly explain to you how it works in detail, with passion, with conviction, look you in the eye, stand behind everything I say, and then pull out my statements from multiple products that I own that I recommend you own because I own them myself. I'm the first believer in them, and I believe everybody should have them. But the person presenting the information needs to be all about it. And then another really big part of those 10,000 hours, you got to flat out be in front of people. They say spend most of your time in front of people who haven't bought and haven't joined. Spend the majority of your time in front of people who haven't bought the product and haven't joined your team. That's who you spend. You spend the majority of the majority of your time. Some of that time you should invest in the people you already have to retain them, to build a relationship with them. But I would say you break that percentage up. I would say maybe 60-70% of the time in front of people who haven't joined, haven't bought. The balance with people who are already with you, people who deserve your time. Remember, they deserve your time, not need your time.
I was going to ask you, so let's say that you wanted to present the opportunity to somebody, like to help you build the organization. Like, where would you find these people? And are there certain places that you look for? And also, like how do you present the opportunity to them? Because sometimes, like, I remember, like, back in the day, like, a couple of people pitched me on certain things. And one, I knew I wanted to do real estate, but I just, what would be some tips and tricks that you would give to people in the network marketing space in order to pitch an opportunity to somebody? Do you just flat out say, hey, look, you want to make more money? Do you want to make more residual? Or, like, what is the best way to present that product?
That's a great question. I love answering this side of it. Well, the reality is that every business out there, you guys listen close to this, every business out there is recruiting new talent, right? If you're Costco,
love it.
You need to recruit new talent, right? If you're a restaurant, you need to recruit new talent. If you're the U.S. military, you are looking for new soldiers, right? Colleges are recruiting new players. Every single organization out there is looking for new people. Now, they don't necessarily use the word recruit. Doesn't matter. They call it hire. They call it join. They call it become part of. Join the team. Regardless of what it is, every single organization out there is recruiting. Now, think about that for a second. If an organization doesn't recruit, it eventually dies. Why? Well, because people retire, people die. When things shrink, it demoralizes the organization and people naturally just throw in the towel. So everything that recruits has a tendency to grow, to evolve, to develop. And if you don't grow, then you're going backwards. So if you're not growing, you're dying. I think that's clear as day for every organization. Think about it. Your family, your last name is reproducing people with that same last name. What happens if your family stops reproducing? Then eventually everybody dies. That last name is gone forever. I want you to think about that. So people need to understand that every organization, I go to 24-hour fitness right here, they're recruiting. They're hiring, they're training, they're developing people to sell memberships, to clean the gym, from janitorial to area manager. Every single organization is recruiting. Now, we are no exception. We recruit people, and we have a multitude of different ways. I have people in my organization who are highly successful at recruiting people strictly from social media. So they put posts, they put videos. Some of them have humor. Some of them are just straight up. Some of them pitch the product. Some of them pitch curiosity. So social media now becomes an added way of attracting new talent that basically when I got started in business, we didn't have social media. So that's a new avenue now, and it's working like a charm for so many people. Some people are anti-social media. They don't believe you should go that route. But my whole saying is, if it works, if it's legal, if it's moral, if it's ethical, then by all means, fire away, go do it. So social media is a big, big part of recruiting. Another way is you put these resumes out there. There's tons of people on Indeed and Monster.com and LinkedIn that put resumes out there, and people that when someone puts a resume out there to the world, they're saying, hey, I want opportunity. I want to make more money. And I like to see what's out there. So there are pockets of my organization that are big time on LinkedIn, calling people from resumes. One advantage to that is that people are already looking. Someone says, hey, I'm interested in more money. Now, oftentimes they're looking for a guaranteed salary. They're looking for a 9-to-5. They're looking for a little benefit package. They're very employee minded until they meet with one of us that's probably well-trained, skilled at converting them into stop looking for a job. Why don't you get into the entrepreneur world where there is real opportunity, real money, and it's flexible, and you can work from home. So there's all sorts of benefits from today in today's world becoming an entrepreneur, far more than before. And the days of people picking up their keys from the counter, getting in their car, driving half an hour to an hour to a job that they don't really like, taking their break with coworkers that are all negative. Everybody bitches, whines, like everybody around the water cooler in their lunchroom at work. Mostly people are negative at a job. They get the threatening emails consistently. It's like they're doing you a favor by giving you employment. Then you go home, beat up from the job, and then the next day you got to wake up and do that all over again. So we've all seen how many people are just so they're so uninspired to go pursue a job. And all you got to do is just bring that to them, especially when someone just got laid off. Think about it. Someone got laid off, they prepare a resume, they put it out there, and now they're looking for another example of what they just left. I mean, think about that. Like, I just left a slave master, now I put my resume to go get another one. That makes no sense. But, and of course it's not for everybody, and we understand that. But the mentality is we got to get people to be entrepreneurial, and we got to get people to develop their full potential. There's so many people that are caged in at a job, but they got them because they have this sort of security blanket that at least they get a check every 2 weeks. And I'm just so glad that I'm with the organization. We get a check we get 2 checks a week. So we get paid 8 to 9 times a month versus most employees in the world, they get paid twice a month. So we taste money 8 to 9 times a month while they taste money twice a month. So it's just, for me, having a conversation with someone who has some desire of more, better, flexibility, we have that conversation. There's another way of attracting talent is, they said prospect as you go. So we go to restaurants. My wife goes to Starbucks. We go, the other day I talked to a guy at DMV. I had to go renew my license. I'm sitting there waiting for a guy, and I'm looking around, and I identify a guy, and I just go up and talk to him. Hey, man, what do you do? Where do you live at? Do you have a family? I started qualifying right there. It's just sort of very conversational. Hey, man, by any chance, are you looking to make more money? And he says, yeah, of course. I said, well, give me your number. Can't promise you anything, but let's talk. Sure enough, he was in my office, and we're getting started. I mean, is that freaking awesome? By the way, that was free. All you got to do is open up your mouth and talk to people. Some will do it. Some won't do it. So what? Next. And then next. I got rich on the ones that did, and next. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So anyway, and there's more ways. There's referrals from clients. I call up my clients and say, hey, listen, my business is expanding. I'm growing. I'm looking for 2 or 3 people that have this character, that have these types of characteristics. Could you refer me to someone you may know? Who's the most ambitious person you know? Who's driven? Who's money motivated? Who wants to help people? And then they give me a name and number. I call them, and we have a third party to reference, and they're in my office, or we get on a Zoom call, and here we go.
So is there a process, bro, that you follow? Like, meaning like, okay, like step 1 is piquing their interest. Step 2 is like bringing them to the office or having like almost like a presentation. Step 3 is obviously them joining. And then like, is there a certain process? Because I know like whenever I'm selling property, there's a certain process that we follow in order to sell properties in high volume. So I'm wondering if there's like a certain process in building a large multi-level business that one would need to follow in order to produce great results.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything that's successful has a process. You know, In-N-Out Burger is a process. Hertz Rent-A-Car is a process. You know, Los Angeles International Airport is a process. Growing up as a kid is a process. Everything has a process. So one would be the initial contact. How are you going to contact these people? Was it a phone call? Was it a text message? Was it just face-to-face? So you got to have contact. Then you got to have the 2-minute, you know, build up a little bit of rapport, ask them questions. I just know that when you ask questions to people, like people, because most people don't ask them. And when you do, you look interested, you look intrigued, you look right into their face and genuinely ask them. So are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live? What do you do? Things like that. Most people are pretty receptive to answering those questions. Then obviously you ask them a question about their future. You know, I'm interested if your future could be better with us, if you could make more money, if you could have more freedom, if you could have more flexibility, is that something you'd would take a look at? And typically most people say yes. So then we now set up an appointment. It's sort of an informal appointment, just to dig in a little bit deeper, ask them a few more questions, and introduce the company, overcome any objections, get some commitments, close them, get them licensed, get them trained, and boom, we're off to the races. Teach them how to do the same thing you did with them. So Ed Milet did it with me, but he also said that's the way you're going to do it with the people you recruit. Because there's a thing called duplication. Like if you could clone people, like you got clone A, can that clone A now go do it with B, with C, with D? Can you replicate that same presentation over and over again? And if you can, now you have an army of people that basically bring you an override. You know, in your world it's called spread. Well, with us it's an override, same thing. These are their efforts that bring you a monetary benefit.
Now, if somebody is looking to build a large multi-level business, are there certain character traits that you look for in an individual? Like meaning, or like, is it like any individual is likely to succeed, or is there like certain like, hey, look, if you look for a person that has a chip on their shoulder, or somebody who has a strong work ethic, or somebody that's maybe like a single parent, almost like you were, are there certain patterns of people that are more likely to succeed in this, or is it almost just like anybody can?
No, I used to think that, like, we offer some people that you hear it in like testimonials or videos or on social media or even at big conventions. Like, if I could do it, anybody can do it. No, that's not quite true. That's, matter of fact, that's kind of bullshit. If I could do it, everybody can do it. No, well, the reality is most people aren't willing to get out of their comfort zone. Success is for all those who want to exit their comfort zone to go into the unknown, to take someone who is used to making money 9 to 5 and put them in an environment where now they will be tested. It's going to be 100% commission. You know, someone really on top of their game when they can live on commission. In my opinion, I think they need to put everybody on commission. Everybody needs to be on commission. There should be no guaranteed salaries. There should be everybody paid on performance. I mean, think about all the people out there that perform. They get paid based on their perform, and there's no limit. So I don't think everybody can do it, but yes, to answer your question, I believe there are a few characteristics, and I believe these characteristics would basically stand the test of time across almost any industry, whether you're going to sell cars or whether you're going to sell timeshares or real estate or any kind of stuff. If you're going to sell nuts and bolts or pharmaceuticals, whatever industry you're in, there's a few things. One, you got to be hungry, man. You got to be ambitious. You just got to want more. You got to have a big vision for your future. The appetite for more has got to be there. So you got to be absolutely just hungry, ambitious. That's number one. Number two, you got to be coachable. You have got to be led. You are a student in this game. There will be a teacher. There will be a mentor. You got to pay attention. We can't have people that already know it all. We often say, if you already know it all, then I don't have anything to teach you. Because remember, you already know it all. So I got to have someone who's willing to learn. And by the way, show up to learn. That means we have a Zoom meeting, we have an in-face meeting, like show up to learn. You have to learn this material because no one is born, no one is taught. In high school, you're not taught how to close. I go back all of my educational years. There's no teacher that teaches you how to close. They close you, but you don't know how to close, right? Colleges close you on paying them all that money for tuition with zero guarantee that you're going to get anything out of it. But they close you. You sign away on the student loan, and now that's guaranteed debt for you. You can't even bankrupt your way out of it. Think about that. So they close you, but they don't teach you how to close. Another thing I think it's just super, super important is that they have credibility. Like no one wants to do business with a shady character. You know, they borrow money from friends and family, didn't pay them back. They just don't look presentable. They speak in a certain way that's not business-like. If you're trying to get into the business world, then you need to look the part. That's one thing I understand. I mean, the business world is typically a little bit more on the conservative side, not too much, depending on industry. I understand there's, if you're selling tattoos, then okay, I think that's a whole, sector over there that's different. But if you're selling something to, Bob and Mary, and they're a homeowner and they have a family, chances are you probably can't, you can't mix the two. So you have to look presentable. You have to speak in a certain way. And bottom line, you just got to believe in what you do. So are you coachable? And are you ambitious? And do you have the desire to help people? That's super important. You got to have the desire to help people. If you're not about helping people, then this thing just doesn't work.
Yeah, I love that. As I was writing that down, it reminded me of the movie The Pursuit of Happiness, where they were sitting down with him and he's like, look, you have everything we look for. And he's like, what is that? He's like, you're smart, you're poor, and you want to be rich. So it's like, there's like this kind of formula, right? And we add in some other things like, hey, I want exactly like, yep, that's me. Where it's like, yeah, I want to, it also has to come from a place where you want to contribute and add value to other people. At the same time, to your point, it's like, I think people like, you could do anything, you want to do. And it's like, well, I think you can do anything with what you've kind of been given. And you have to really do your best to get the most out of what you've been given. Because, I'd like to be 6'5" and play for the Dolphins, but like, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? No matter how much I affirm it, no matter how many say I'm great, I think I can, like, it's just not going to take place.
Especially if it takes a physical attribute.
Absolutely. That's right. Yeah, 100%.
Well,
so then I'm curious.
Hang on. Yeah. Let me also say this. For the right person with the right attitude and the right level of activity, I believe a network marketing, build an organization is one of the true ways you can take a regular person like me and make you a multimillionaire. Because they don't hold anything else. Like, I don't have a college degree. I don't know if that's good or bad or different, whatever. I don't have a master's, PhD, but they didn't hold that against me. Versus corporate America would have first asked me for that. And by the way, I probably do have a PhD because I've dealt with so many people in psychology, because I've just worked with so many people over the years. So I don't know that I couldn't advise someone as good as a person that did hold that degree. That's up for debate. But this is a level playing field. So if you're Latino like me, if you don't have a college education, but you have the hunger, as long as you can qualify to get that license and you learn the products and you show up, you can make it. That's what it takes.
Now let's talk about like leadership, bro. Let's talk about like when they're actually like in your organization now. What are some tips and tricks, or not tips? What are some tips about helping other people develop, bro? Like, meaning, especially like, I don't know if your entire organization is there where you live or in the same city where you guys just have in-person meetings, or if it's a lot of Zoom now and like virtual meetings. Like, how would somebody set up their organization in a way where they're not only bringing people on, they're retaining people and they're building other leaders as well too?
Well, that's that's the secret. You know, the secret sauce is hiring these people, training them, retaining them. So I think retention is the most important thing for most families out there, for most individuals that get into business. And I would just say retention has a whole lot to do with, one, that they're feeling good about where they're at. If you feel good about where you're at, you're going to stay there. So that's the first part. How do you get them feeling good? Well, they got to be making progress. So Jose Luis, if I recruit you and within your first 30, 60, 90 days, you've already made several thousands of dollars with me. And I says, hey, we're just getting started, man. The future is huge. The future is bright. We just got to do a little bit more of what we're doing right now. So I got you some attention. The other thing too is, Jose Luis, if you're, I'm Guillermo Haro, I'm your leader. I recruit you, you're A. And then I quickly help you go recruit B. And then we're going to help B go recruit C. And then we're going to help C recruit D. So you're A, and I already have 3 people underneath you. Well, there's a thing called fear of loss. So if you get a little funny, if you start maybe slowing down, if you're thinking about quitting, I'll remind you, says, hey man, you remember all those stories? You know, like the guy who recruited me, he quit, and all the millions of dollars of overrides over the course of years missed that guy. They went direct to Ed Milet because Ed Milet was active, and the other guy who quit was not active. So we run across those stories, and you just remind them, says it pays to stay active, and it pays to have activity. And the people that are underneath you, they will also stay active and create activity. So therefore, you are prized for the people you brought. Why would you bring people, then you don't stick around for the benefit? Like, why would you plant a tree, then that tree gives fruit, but you're not there to pick it? So we're always talking about that over and over again. We have references of people who have quit. I personally know, I mean, the stories are many, many stories of people who have quit the business and have forfeited thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, and several of them have forfeited millions of dollars in overrides. This is compensation that would have gone to them simply for being active and having a productive downline. So we talk about that all the time. And obviously, people just got to feel like their life is getting better. You have to create value for your team. You got to give them examples of success. They have to see you becoming more and more successful. You got to develop. You got to continue to build a relationship with them. You got to pour into them. You got to believe in them when oftentimes they're not believing in themselves. You got to be there too when they're hitting rock bottom. And you got to have the stories to re-inspire them, to recommit them. Like, why'd you do it to begin with? Okay, well, let's stick to that. Let's go. I'm here to help you, and do it in a way where it's a genuine thing. So dealing with people can be, for a lot of people, can be the challenge, but it's also where all the rewards are at. Because guess what? People multiply faster than anything else. You know, like, for example, I buy real estate too. Well, you can't buy a property and then that property by itself recruits another property and recruits another property and recruits another property. That doesn't happen. But I could recruit you, and 3 days later, you have a recruit underneath you. And then that recruit 3 days later or 2 days later has another recruit underneath him. So in a matter of a week, I got a leg that already went 4 or 5 deep. You can't buy a house and a week later that house reproduce 3, 4, 5 other houses. That just doesn't happen. So people multiply faster than anything. And also people bring their markets, their uncles, their aunts, their nieces, nephews, neighbors, coworkers, everybody around them. So it's ongoing. Like, people know people know people. Now with Zoom, before the pandemic, we were sort of regional. If you were in Southern California and you were able to drive 10 minutes to an hour, you would come to my office or one of my other regional offices from San Diego all the way up to Northern California, to Las Vegas, to Phoenix, to Bakersfield. So we had offices all over Southern California. But the pandemic hit, offices were shut down. We couldn't go to the office. Well, Zoom opened up. Now, guess what? Someone has a cousin in Illinois. Well, then you now get on a Zoom call. You could be next door or 2 days 2 states away or 5 states away, and now you're having that same Zoom call presenting the company, the products, the opportunity, and Zoom exploded. Now Zoom created expansion at a distance better than any other way we had before.
Yeah, and I wrote down a couple things, like 1, quick wins, making progress, right? 2 is help to recruit. So that's a good idea.
Yes.
I loved your idea of leverage. That part of the reason why me and Jose are doing what we're doing with EXP is that there's not a residual nature to selling real estate, to your point. Now, I'm curious, as far as culture and adding value, I know you do Zoom and you do training. How do you blend the digital world and the physical world in order to help with, in order to create a culture where it aids in retention?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're actually doing our meetings, they're hybrid. Like, for example, right here, I'm sitting in my office right here in Glendora, California, and I have a 5,000, about 4,600 to 5,000 square foot office, and I have a presentation room. I'm looking at it right now. And we have a meeting there with, say, 30, 40 people, but we also broadcast it on Zoom. So I have people from across 17 states tuning into that same meeting. So my people here are able to see me live. And then I got, several dozens other people in multiple states, and both of them are getting the same information.
Guillermo, you mind me asking how often the trainings are? Like, is this something that's like on a daily night, like 7 o'clock every single night? Is this something that is a couple times a week? Is this something where it's always you speaking? Is this something like where there's other leaders within the company almost like sharing their stories as to like little small wins? Like, how frequent are they, and what do these meetings look like as well too?
The answer is all of the above. Other than daily meetings, I don't have daily meetings. I think you can have too many meetings and blow people out, because now it feels like a job to someone. So if I just join me and now I got to be on a meeting every single day, I'm probably going to get some crap from my wife. I'm probably going to say, well, wait a minute, what's another meeting? Like, it's repetitive. By the way, there's nothing wrong if you do have a daily meeting for accountability with people that are highly committed, that are your top performers. So I get that side of it as well, and I've done that as well. But long term, with the overall organization, I don't think daily meetings really. For most organizations, I don't have daily meetings. So with us, we have one meeting on Tuesday, 6:30 p.m., and that goes for about an hour to an hour and a half max, and everybody's on that meeting. And then we also have another one on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., strictly on Zoom. And then on Sunday, for my more committed, the people who are close to me in our business, we have a thing called a Bay Shop. So like a leader that has sort of people that are becoming sort of a senior leader. And that's called the Bay Shop. So I have a Bay Shop Sunday night accountability, just to take count for what we did this past week and what's the goals for next week, just to make sure that people are being held accountable. So I have 3 meetings a week, and I think that's about right. I don't have 6, 7, 8 meetings. Does that change once in a while? Yes, but overall, your normal week would be Tuesday 6:30, Saturday 10 o'clock, Sunday 8:30. I'm sorry, 8 p.m.
And then what is typically covered in the meetings? Is it like you obviously giving something inspirational? Is it like other leaders sharing wins? Is it what would something like that look like?
Yes.
And the reason I'm asking this is obviously Aaron and I got involved with EXP recently, and I actually I had one goal for the quarter, bro, which was to bring Aaron on. And I brought Aaron on, and that guy's brought like 10 people on already, like in less than 45 days. So I get what you're talking about, like how quickly it can multiply, and then those people can get another person, and then another person, and another person. Before you know it, your organization is like 100 people, 200 people. Yep. Before you know it, it's 5,000. But like, what would be ways of adding value to people in these meetings? And what does that look like?
Well, that's a good point. We do not talk about the same topic every meeting. There's different meetings for different things. I think you need to talk about product. In our business, we sell multiple products. In your business, you're sort of selling one product. I think you're selling real estate. So that's essentially one product. Now, they could be looked at as multi units, or is it single family? Is it commercial? So I get that might be the variance in your different products. But with us, we have financial products insurance that are different types of insurance. We have investments that are different types of investments. We also have a debt elimination program. So we basically have meetings to coach people on presenting those products. So that would be one meeting. Another meeting would just simply be mindset, just to get people mentally tough, to get people prepared for what's to come, the ups and downs of business, the fact that you've got to endure, you got to be prepared for the times that aren't necessarily all that good. So mindset has got to do a lot of it. Mental toughness is a big, big thing we're always talking about. And then another one would be examples of success, where we do bring leaders from other teams or also leaders from within our own organization to basically talk about their story, so therefore people can relate. Like someone's a nurse, or someone came from the education field, or someone came from corporate America, or someone came from the legal field, and they had enough of that. Now they got started here, they blew up, they're having lots of success, and people want to know, okay, tell me your story. So we have that as well. We also have meetings that talk about just meeting etiquette. Like, this is how you attend the meeting. This is what you're looking for. This is how to take notes. This is how to take immediate action after a meeting. So there are plenty of people who go to meetings and then they're the same person after the meeting. Well, the meeting did nothing for you then. That was wasted time. The purpose of having a meeting is to learn something new and then apply 2 or 3 nuggets that you got from that meeting and then quickly put them into practice. Like, quickly apply them. If you go take a golf lesson and immediately you have a round of golf, the very thing the coach just taught you in golf, you're supposed to apply immediately playing. It's not stay the same. So we have conversations about that. We also have conversations about how to schedule your day. We have conversations about the discipline. We have conversations about the compensation program, which is a big draw. It's like, okay, you want to learn how to explain the compensation. You want to learn how to get promoted, how to make more money, how the products you sell directly correlate into dollars in your pocket. So we have a compensation class. We also have a compliance class, which is important, like the do's and don'ts of business. I think every business needs to stay out of the ditch. So they say the business of business is to stay in business. And so you need to tell people this is things you cannot do. These things will land you into some problems. You don't want to have compliance issues. So there's a variety of different topics. I'm thinking maybe 6 to 8 topics that we can touch on. Oftentimes the presenters vary just so that they don't see the same guy over and over again. And also we recommend that the presenter be highly prepared, PowerPoint, reference points, have their training all already timed. So therefore, if they get an hour, they're going to take that hour. We also have Q&A sessions. I think the Q&A sessions are the best because no one can say, well, I just never knew that. Well, we offer the opportunity for people to ask all questions and they get the answer in real time right then and there. So Q&As are super important.
In your business, bro, do you guys role play at all? Like role play different sales situations? And how important is that, bro? Like, cause I know a lot of different, as at least in real estate, bro, like there's some agents that role play in practice and then there's some agents that don't. But to me, the difference was that the more polished you are in presenting your product and services, the better the results that you're going to get. And I remember when it was funny because I have my life insurance with you, and whenever we met, I was like, dude, this guy's polished, bro. Any question that I asked you, it was like boom, like it was no hesitation whatsoever. Like, how important is that? What would you recommend for somebody? Like, how often would you recommend for somebody to role play? How often would you recommend for somebody to practice? And how important is that as well?
Well, I think if you don't do that, you don't stand a chance. If you don't polish up, if you don't get super skilled, if you don't become super confident with the words of your industry, your business, your product, I think you have a limited success. As a matter of fact, very success, if any. The best people at what they do, they're constantly practicing their craft. I mean, I want you guys to think about this for a little bit. You hear like a law firm, right? So there's a lawyer that works at the law firm, and then there's the owners of the law firm. And it says, well, what do you do? It says, oh, I practice law. They already passed the bar. They're already a full-blown attorney, but they're practicing, meaning they're role-playing. You can never stop that. You could play basketball for so many years, and they still have practice. every successful organization, every successful individual, they are big on practice. Well, with us, it's not necessarily physical to the point where we're shooting free throws or doing layups or hitting a ball in golf or in baseball. With us is the words. So if you don't practice the words of your craft, of your business, and you don't understand the rejections that are coming and how to overcome those objections, if you're not on top of that, then that would be one of the reasons why you don't succeed. So yes, role play is something that we do constantly. We have meetings strictly to role play. We have it in writing. We email it to people. A new recruit comes on board. We have a little packet and says, these are the scripts. Every business out there that's presenting a product needs to have a script, because otherwise then you just got too many variances. People are saying it different ways. So we teach that script, and it's got to be simple. It's got to be duplicatable. It's got to be effective. And yes, role playing, I think that's what got me. I became one of the more skilled. I made up my mind that I was going to be a student of my business. I'm going to be a kick-ass student. I'm going to be so coachable. I'm going to be glued to the teacher. I always, like in meetings, I always sat front row. I see people that sit in meetings, stuff like that, and they sit way back, 3, 4, 5 rows in the back, to the far right, to the far left. Well, those are the first people who quit. The people who sit in the front, they're the most committed because they fought for those seats in the front. Kind of like you go to a concert. Who's more committed to that concert? The nosebleeds or the guy in the first few rows? Who paid more? Who values it more? Who got there early? So I value this as, if I'm going to learn this industry, if I'm going to get the top pay in this company, well, then I got to be the best student. And then I want my people to watch that I am still a student. I still take notes. I got my notepad right here, and I'm at every meeting, and I'm taking notes. Although I already know what's going to happen and when they're going to say it and how they're going to say it and why they say it, I already know all that. But I still have to show my guy that, hey, I'm still taking notes. So it's super important. Always stay green. Super important to always keep this learning mode on and to continuously practice the words of the business. And also, if you don't do that, then things do change. Well, you got to practice the new one stuff, because products don't stay the same. They don't have the same iPhone today that they did 10 years ago. There's a new one. So you got to learn how the features of the new one. And that's super important. And by the way, it's also with regulation, with just about everything. So yes, role play and practicing the business and going over case studies and scenarios, super, super important.
What it makes me think of is like Biggie Smalls says, like, treat this one like it's the first one. I treat everyone like it was the first one, right? And it sounds like you're still doing that, and that's why you're at the top of your game.
Thank you.
I don't know, man. Like, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time. I think people are going to get tremendous amounts of value, from this. And if people want to connect with you, if they want to reach out to you, like if they need help with financial services and things of that nature, where could they find you?
Well, they can call my office, 909-397-8777. Again, that's 909-397-8777. I'm in Glendora, California. We operate in North America, also Canada, Puerto Rico, and the entire U.S. Mainland. And then also you can hit me up on Instagram, Coach G Haro. That right there, like my name says, but just coach, like football coach or basketball coach, Coach G Haro on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, GHaro1. So that's how you could get a hold of me.
Cool. Well, Guillermo, I just want to say thank you for taking the time. Obviously, like I was excited about this one because, just excited. I knew that it would be dynamic. And as Aaron and I kind of go through this process of building an organization, I think that you could be a good influence in our life in that direction. So I appreciate you, man. And just want to say thank you. Anything else that you want to kind of close it off with? Any final words?
Yeah, I want to say over to you guys. It's good to see Latinos in this country really elevating their lives, setting the example for the next generation. And quite frankly, I mean, you guys are there, so I really enjoy it. I was so excited about this. I was looking forward to it. I told my wife about it. My kids are right here. They just got picked up from school, and they were like, want to come in and see me, and they're told not to do this because this is a very important meeting. So I really enjoyed it. I think it's an important topic. Hopefully we've inspired some people. We clarified any concerns there is about what it is and what it's not.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. Novello, thank you so much as well, too. All right, guys.